Israel and Lebanon are just minutes away now from a ceasefire agreement that could finally bring some peace in the Middle East. It is scheduled to take effect at 4 a.m. local time, which is right around the corner, really around the time this show ends. Here is what the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said earlier today.
If this is finally agreed, and if this goes forward, it is the answer to the problem that has bedeviled the area for a couple of decades. So that's in the immediate what's at stake, as well as I think the larger ramifications of getting an agreement, including what I believe can be very positive effects on also ending the conflict in Gaza.
So could this agreement not just put an end to the 14 months of attacks between Israel and Hezbollah, but also help end fighting between Israel and Hamas? Joining me now is former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark and the SVP of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Jonathan Schanzer. I appreciate you both for being here. General Clark, I'll start with you. Should we be celebrating tonight? I mean, is this really good news? Is there something that we're sort of missing beyond just the headline here?
Well, I think we should be celebrating. I think, this was a resounding defeat of Hezbollah. I think the Israeli Defense Forces did a good job militarily in taking out the Hezbollah infrastructure and their ability to attack Israel. So I think the northern areas of Israel now are more secure than they have been. So all that's very positive. It's just that, we've had these ceasefires before. This is 50 years of continuous warfare in this area. And the ceasefire agreement that's been negotiated and approved, it provides authority for Israel to defend itself, but it doesn't actually provide an effective enforcement mechanism to keep Hezbollah from coming back in. It says that's the mission of the Lebanese armed forces. They've had that mission before. They haven't succeeded in it. They don't want to succeed in it because it could cause civil war in Lebanon. So for now, let's be happy. But recognize we need to go a lot further to go after Iran's hegemonic aspirations in the region.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, should Israel have just put an end to Hezbollah? Are they in a way sort of giving in by agreeing to this ceasefire?
No, I don't think so. I think the Israelis have done a good job of really removing a lot of the top leadership of Hezbollah. They've taken out something like, 60 to 75% of their long-range missiles and rockets. They've destroyed a lot of that infrastructure in Beirut, in this neighborhood known as Dahia, where Hezbollah has had its headquarters. I think really the big question is about enforcement, but the Israelis have something else that's in their pocket now. They've banked this from Washington. They've got a side letter, and that side letter gives Israel effectively a free hand to target Hezbollah anytime they see the group starting to rearm and reconstitute in southern Lebanon and central Lebanon and northern Lebanon. And on top of that, the U.S. is going to be releasing its hold on weapons to the Israelis, including some of those 2,000-pound bombs that had been held up. So I see right now the Israelis have strengthened their hand after having eviscerated Hezbollah since September. I think it's a good day. Obviously, it doesn't mean the end of war in the Middle East. That is going to be up to Iran, which has been using all of its proxies on 7 different fronts to attack Israel. But this is, I think, a good start and maybe a step, as Secretary Blinken said, in the right direction to perhaps even ending the war in Gaza as well.
Explain, Jonathan, when you say side letter, what does that mean?
Well, we don't have a lot of information about it yet, but we've been hearing that the Israelis have received some kind of guarantee from the Biden administration that if and when and I think it really is a question of when, if and when Hezbollah starts reconstituting, rebuilding, rearming in Lebanon, that there will not be any restraints put on the Israelis. I have to imagine the Trump administration won't have any problems with that. I think they're thinking more like 4, 8, 12 years into the future. They may want to hold up that letter and say, Mr. or Mrs. President, we have this guarantee, stand aside while we take care of Hezbollah.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. General Clark, how does this play into the situation in Gaza? I mean, does this help? Is this a step closer to peace there, or is it a totally separate issue?
I think the two are not totally separate. I do think it cuts off any hope that Hamas has that somehow Hezbollah's actions in northern Israel against the IDF are going to prevent Israel from finishing the job militarily in Gaza. And so in that sense, yes, it's helpful in bringing the conflict in Gaza to a close. Israel still has to do the job there militarily. Hamas has not made it easy, but this is one more means of cutting off any hope that Hamas has that Israel is going to be distracted.
Are we seeing General Iran's proxies splinter at this point? I mean, is this a sign of that?
If that's to me, we are not seeing yet the kind of effect we'd like to see on Iran's proxies in this so-called axis of resistance. We're not seeing that yet. We should be following up on that. This is the time. This is a window of opportunity. Iran is very weak. Iran's looking for some kind of a fig leaf of a diplomatic agreement to reduce the pressure from the West without at the same time giving up on its own aspirations. This is a time to take advantage of Iran's weakness and do more in the region.
There are some Israelis protesting against the ceasefire, and I was sort of wondering, does a ceasefire like this give Hezbollah, Jonathan, like an opportunity to rearm, to take a break, and to get stronger? Or are they just watching them so closely that can't happen?
I don't think there's a high likelihood that in the next couple of years they're able to get back to the power that they once had. They had a lot of weapons in their arsenal. Now they've got a lot fewer of them, and they've got much fewer leaders. They don't have people running the show anymore. I think if anything, the Israelis are going to take this time to rearm and reconstitute. Wouldn't be surprised to see a surprise offensive against Hezbollah and Iran in the near future.
Interesting. All right, General Wesley Clark and Jonathan Schanzer, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.